Starting off strong, #1 on our list is Genshin Impact, and honestly, it still deserves its throne in 2026. This open-world action RPG from Hoyoverse drops you into the continent of Teyvat, where you play as the traveler searching for a lost sibling. The world is massive, visually stunning, and packed with things to do. Combat revolves around elemental reactions, where you mix characters tied to different elements, like fire, water, and wind, to trigger chain reactions that wipe out enemies in satisfying ways. You control a party of 4, swapping between them in real time. The story has been continuously expanding, with new regions, and the production quality rivals premium releases. The Gacha system lets you pull for new characters and weapons, and while pity systems are in place, chasing limited banners can still test your patience. Free-to-play is very much viable here, though. Coming in at #2, Honkai Star Rail takes the Hoyoverse formula into a completely different direction, with turn-based combat set across a galaxy-hopping sci-fi universe. You board the Astral Express and travel to various planets, each with their own distinct civilizations, threats, and stories. The combat is strategic and layered, requiring you to build teams that exploit enemy weaknesses tied to different types and elements. Each character fills a clear role, be it damage dealer, buffer, debuffer, or sustain, and team synergy genuinely matters. The writing quality is consistently strong, often delivering emotional story beats that rival dedicated RPGs. The Gacha system follows Hoyoverse standards, with a soft pity and guaranteed 5-star system. New content drops regularly, making it a solid long-term game worth investing time into. #3 belongs to Wuthering Waves, developed by Kuro Games, and this one is a serious contender for the best gacha experience available right now. Set in a post-apocalyptic world recovering from a catastrophic event called the Calamity, you play as the Rover, an amnesiac with mysterious powers. What makes this game stand apart is its combat system, which is fast, fluid, and deeply skill-expressive. Dodge timings, parry windows, and echo abilities reward players who put in the effort to master mechanics. The open world is gorgeous, with impressive verticality, allowing wall running and high-speed traversal. Kuro Games has been impressively responsive to player feedback, patching and improving the game at a rapid pace since launch. The gacha system is also notably generous compared to many competitors, making it a strong pick even for free-to-play players. Fourth up is Zenless Zone Zero, another Hoyoverse title that brings a completely different energy from its siblings. Set in the urban city of New Eridu, the last remaining prosperous city surrounded by supernatural anomaly zones called Hollows, you play as a proxy who guides others through dangerous missions. The combat takes place in contained arena-style encounters rather than an open world, and it is fast, stylish, and packed with character-specific mechanics. Every character has a distinct feel and visual identity, and the roster is arguably the most creatively designed of any Hoyoverse game. The story started strong and has only gotten better with updates. The unique TV screen navigation system divides opinion, but adds to the game's offbeat personality. If you want action combat with serious style and personality, this is an easy recommendation. #5 is Arknights Endfield, one of the most anticipated gacha launches of early 2026, and it delivered. Set in the Arknights universe on the planet Talos 2, this game shifts the tower defense roots of the original into a full open-world action RPG with a base-building layer that expands into something surprisingly deep. You play as an end administrator, exploring a hostile alien landscape while managing resources and building out an industrial operation. Combat is real-time and group-based, with a roster of operators pulled through the gacha system. The base building eventually evolves into something resembling a factory game, which is a wild direction for a gacha title, but it works. Production values are high, and the world design is atmospheric and detailed. It is available across PC and mobile, making it accessible to a wide player base. 6th is Goddess of Victory Nikke, which might be the most unapologetically fan service-heavy entry on this list, but look past that and there is a genuinely fun shooter gacha underneath. You command a squad of android women called Nikkes in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by mechanical aliens called Rakshurs. The gameplay is a third-person cover shooter, where you control which Nikke is active and time their special skills during battles. Building a well-synergized team is key, and the game has a healthy roster of characters with distinct kits and personalities. Collaborations with popular anime and game franchises have kept the content calendar fresh and exciting. The story is surprisingly well written, with emotional moments that hit hard. It remains one of the most popular gacha titles globally, and community engagement is consistently strong.
Coming in at number 7 is Infinity Nikki, a fashion-focused open-world gacha that might surprise you with how much it offers beyond outfits. Set in the magical world of Mirrorland, you play as Nikki exploring vast and visually breathtaking regions filled with quests, puzzles, and collectibles. The gacha system here revolves around crafting and pulling cosmetic outfits rather than combat units, which makes it feel distinctly different from the typical gacha loop. Some outfits grant special abilities, useful for exploration and puzzle solving, tying the collection mechanic to actual gameplay in a smart way. The world itself is rich with detail, and the atmosphere is wholesome and relaxing. For players exhausted by competitive or combat-heavy gacha titles, Infinity Nikki offers a genuine alternative that still scratches the collection and progression itch without the stress.
Number 8 is Punishing Grey Raven, developed by Kuro Games before Wuthering Waves, and it remains one of the most mechanically demanding and rewarding action gachas available. Set in a cyberpunk post-apocalyptic world where corrupted robots called Corrupted have taken over, you command a squad of constructs, human consciousness uploaded into combat bodies, to reclaim Earth. The combat system is combo-heavy and requires precise timing of skills, dodges, and rotation between characters to deal maximum damage. It has a steep learning curve, but mastering it is genuinely satisfying. The story is darker in tone compared to other gacha titles and has a dedicated fan base for its character writing. For players who want action with real mechanical depth and do not mind putting in effort to learn the systems, this is one of the best options in the entire genre.
Honkai Impact 3rd takes the 9th spot, the game that started Hoyoverse's dominance in the gacha space. Now, in its second part, following a major 2024 update, the game has been significantly modernized with quality of life improvements, revised systems, and even a limited open world section. At its core, it remains a stylish hack-and-slash action game where you control Valkyries through combat sequences with tight controls and flashy animations. The story is one of the most emotionally ambitious in the gacha genre, spanning years of content with a genuine narrative arc that pays off for long-term players. New players can still access a streamlined entry point. While it is older than many titles on this list, the updates have kept it relevant, and the dedicated community continues to celebrate and support it actively.
AFK Journey lands at number 10 as the go-to recommendation for players who want progression without constant active engagement. Developed by Lilith Games as a visual and mechanical upgrade to the original AFK Arena, the game drops you into a beautifully illustrated fantasy world inspired by the art of classic storybooks. Teams of heroes battle automatically, and you return periodically to collect rewards and adjust your roster for new challenges. The gacha system is used to unlock and upgrade heroes, and the power difference between units affects how efficiently your team clears content. There are active gameplay modes for those who want engagement beyond the idle loop. The visual presentation is genuinely impressive for a mobile-first title, and the drip feed of content means there is always something new to chase, without demanding you play for hours daily. 11 on our list is Guardian Tales, a top-down action RPG with a pixelated art style and surprisingly deep gameplay hiding behind its cute aesthetic. Set across multiple worlds accessible through a mysterious portal, you play as a knight, completing quests, solving puzzles, and building a roster of characters to fight alongside. What makes it stand out is how much variety it packs in, with puzzle-heavy dungeons, a story full of genuine humor and heart, and a PvP arena that rewards smart team building over raw power. The gacha system is one of the more free-to-play friendly options on this list, with regular events packed with premium currency rewards. Character designs are creative, and the writing has a self-aware comedy tone that makes it uniquely charming among its more serious competition. Coming in at number 12 is Reverse 1999, a turn-based gacha set in a world where time itself is collapsing, pulling people and eras backward through history. The art direction is strikingly unique, with a vintage illustration aesthetic unlike anything else in the genre. You play as Verton, a timekeeper with the rare ability to move against the current, collecting characters from various time periods called Arcanists. Combat is strategic and card-based, requiring thoughtful use of skills and positioning. The writing quality is exceptional, and the game takes narrative risks that reward attentive players. Production values across its animated cutscenes and original music are consistently high. It attracts players who want a gacha with genuine artistic ambition and storytelling that takes itself seriously without becoming inaccessible. Limbus Company arrives at 13, one of the more unique and divisive entries on this list from Project Moon, the studio behind the acclaimed Lobotomy Corporation and Library of Ruina. Set in a grim, surreal interpretation of classic literature characters as sinners, you manage a team of sinners riding a bus through a decaying city, trying to claim something called the Golden Bough. Combat is turn-based and deep, with a coin flip mechanic adding tension to every skill use. The gacha system pulls for alternate identities and ego abilities for each character, rather than entirely new units. The story is dark, philosophical, and rewards players familiar with the studio's prior work. It is a niche game with a passionate community and is best suited to players who value unusual creative vision over mainstream accessibility. Number 14 is Path to Nowhere, a strategy gacha with tower defense DNA mixed with a crime thriller aesthetic. You play as a chief managing a team of criminals called sinners in a city plagued by a mysterious corruption. The gameplay involves deploying your sinners in combat maps to eliminate enemies, requiring positional thinking and careful resource management. Unlike many gacha titles, the visual tone here leans into dark urban design with character art that feels distinctive and grounded. The story delivers a morally complex narrative with well-written character backgrounds that add depth to the roster. The gacha system is reasonable, and the gameplay has enough tactical depth to keep strategy fans engaged long-term. It flies under the radar compared to bigger titles, but consistently delivers quality content updates. Alchemy Stars is number 15, a strategy gacha that uses a tile-matching movement system unlike anything else in the genre. Set in the world of Astra, where humans are locked in conflict with creatures called Eclipsites, you lead a squad of Aurorians across grid-based maps, where moving characters through matching color tiles deals damage and triggers chain attacks. The spatial puzzle element makes every battle feel like a logic problem as much as a character power exercise. The art style is clean and vibrant, and the character designs have a consistent visual language that makes the roster feel cohesive. Content has been consistent, and the gacha system gives players enough to work with through regular events and story chapters. For players tired of standard turn-based or action formats, this offers a genuinely fresh gameplay loop. Blue Archive hits number 16, a tactical RPG from Nexon that has built one of the most dedicated fan communities in mobile gaming. Set at Kivotos Academy, an enormous school city inhabited entirely by students with various factions and problems, you play as Sensei, an advisor managing teams of students called Chalet in various tactical missions. Combat uses real-time positioning with active skill activation and cover mechanics. The game is best known for its exceptional character writing, delivering slice-of-life stories, emotional arcs, and comedic moments across its massive roster of students. Each story arc is crafted with care, and the music quality is consistently excellent. Events are generous with rewards, and the developer Nexon KR has proven committed to the game long-term, with regular high-quality updates.
Coming in at 17 is Epic 7, a classic among mobile gacha players and still going strong years after its launch. This turn-based RPG with gorgeous animated 2D combat sprites sets you in a fantasy world through its 7th cycle of history. The combat system has significant strategic depth, with speed manipulation, counter mechanics, and cleave versus sustain team compositions driving the meta. The visual quality of its idle animations and combat remains some of the best for the format. The story is long and well-produced, and the world building is rich. The gacha system has been a point of contention over the years, with equipment upgrades being particularly punishing, but the developers have made adjustments over time. For fans of traditional turn-based RPG combat with deep team building, this is a long-standing pillar of the genre.
Eversoul arrives at 18, a gacha that blends idle RPG mechanics with a visual novel story experience centered around collecting and bonding with soul maidens. Set in a world where powerful beings called souls fight to determine the fate of humanity, you play as a savior managing a growing cast of distinctive characters. The combat is auto-battle with some manual intervention during key moments, keeping the gameplay accessible. What draws players in is the relationship system and the depth of individual character stories, which are surprisingly well written for what presents itself as a casual idle game. Production quality in its illustrated cutscenes and character interactions is high.
Regular collaborations and content updates keep the roster growing, and the overall tone strikes a balance between relaxing progression and enough challenge to hold long-term interest. Number 19 is Solo Leveling Arise, the official gacha adaptation of the massively popular solo leveling manhwa. You play as Sung Jin-woo in a story that follows the source material while expanding with additional content. The action combat is fast and flashy, capturing the over-the-top power fantasy of the original story well. Character pulling lets you add iconic hunters from the manhwa to your roster and deploy them in combat alongside Jin-woo. The production values are high, with animated cutscenes and voice acting that honors the source material. For fans of the manhwa or anime, seeing these characters in a playable format is a genuine draw. New players unfamiliar with the source will still find a polished action gacha, though knowledge of the story adds significant enjoyment to the narrative presentation throughout. Snowbreak Containment Zone is number 20, a third-person shooter gacha developed by CSUN that draws comparisons to Honkai Impact but carves its own space with tight gunplay and character-focused writing. Set in a near-future world where mysterious entities called Akari threaten civilization, you command a team of CSUN operatives, each with unique weapon specializations and combat roles. The shooting mechanics feel genuinely satisfying, with gun handling that stands above many mobile shooter competitors. Character stories are detailed, and the developer has been notably responsive to community feedback, making significant improvements since launch. The gacha pools for new characters and weapons, and the game has become meaningfully more generous since its earlier days. It sits in an interesting spot for players wanting shooter gameplay within the gacha format. Crystal of Atlan comes in at 21, a gacha MMO that bridges the gap between mobile and PC with a magic punk fantasy setting full of personality. Built around the floating island realm of Atlan, you explore a world where magic and machinery coexist in a steampunk-adjacent visual style that looks impressive across all platforms. The MMO structure means you share the world with other players and engage in cooperative content alongside the solo story experience. Class customization and aerial combat elements give the game a dynamic quality that sets it apart from single-player-focused gacha titles. Regular updates bring new story content, events, and character additions, keeping the world feeling active. For players who want the social and shared world element missing from many gacha titles, this fills that gap effectively. Umamusume Pretty Derby lands at 22, the anime horse girl collector that became a global phenomenon after its Japanese popularity translated into an international launch. You collect and train characters who are personifications of real-world racehorses, each with a personality and stats tied to their historical counterpart. The training simulation system is surprisingly deep, requiring you to balance stats, events, and character-specific story scenes to produce the best racer. Race outcomes have real tension, and the game captures genuine sports drama within its colorful aesthetic. The fan community is enormous, and the regular addition of new horse girls tied to real racing events keeps the content calendar fresh and culturally relevant. It is unlike anything else on this list and represents a uniquely creative concept executed with consistent quality and charm. Number 23 is Destiny Rising, which brings the beloved Destiny universe into the gacha format for mobile and PC. Rather than creating a custom guardian, you pull for characters called Lightbearers with distinct abilities and backstories set within the Destiny lore. The shooting mechanics translate to the mobile format better than expected, and fans of the franchise will appreciate the familiar visual language and world references. The story introduces new Lightbearers while touching on known events from the main series. The gacha system lets you pull for characters and cosmetic items. It is best positioned for existing Destiny fans who want to engage with the universe in a different format, though the production values are high enough that new players can still find an enjoyable experience without prior franchise knowledge. Ash Echoes arrives at 24, a tactical RPG with real-time combat that distinguishes itself through its resonance system, where placing characters with matching resonance types near each other trigger powerful combo effects during battle. Set in a post-disaster world called the Cube, you lead a team of echomancers navigating both the physical and memory-based landscape. The combat requires spatial awareness and team positioning as much as individual character power. The art direction is clean, and the character roster has a satisfying diversity in terms of roles and visual design. The story tackles themes of memory, identity, and survival in ways that feel meaningful rather than surface level. Regular updates have improved the game since launch, and the developer community with the community has been notably consistent and transparent throughout its lifespan. Closing out the list at number 25 is Tower of Fantasy, the open-world gacha from Hada Studio that competes in Genshin Impact territory with its own sci-fi anime aesthetic. Set on the planet Ida after humanity fled a dying Earth, the world is open and exploration-focused, with a shared world MMO layer adding other players to your experience. Combat is weapon-based rather than character-based, with each weapon granting a distinct moveset and skill, and you can equip up to 3 weapons for on-the-fly style switching. The character roster has expanded significantly since launch, and the story has continued developing the world's sci-fi lore. It had a rough reception at launch, but sustained development has improved the experience considerably. For players wanting open-world gacha with multiplayer elements and a sci-fi setting, it remains a compelling option worth revisiting or trying fresh.